Rex Heuermann. I'm an architect. I'm an architectural consultant. I'm a troubleshooter. Born and raised on Long Island.
Okay.
Been working in Manhattan since 1987.
The first hair that we got the mitochondrial DNA profile on, the female hair on Megan Waterman, that is 2.374 times 10 to the 48th power, as likely to have come from someone matching the genetic profile of Asa Ellerup. And the way that that number is expressed, that's scientific expression, I'm told. So that's basically 2.374, and you add 48 zeros to that. So that's
Massapequa Park, once a serene slice of suburban bliss, became the unlikeliest backdrop for horror in July 2023, when the name Rex Heuermann emerged from the shadows. For years, the haunting tale of Gilgo Beach had dominated conversations, casting an unsettling pall over New York as discoveries of human remains sent tremors through the community. 11 victims, lost souls buried in anonymity along a desolate stretch of coastline, carried the weight of unsolved mysteries that haunted both families and law enforcement for over a decade. The revelation of Heuermann as an alleged killer was a shattering moment. A 59-year-old architect, he appeared to lead an ordinary life in a modest red house. Described by acquaintances as peculiar and socially awkward, he bore no resemblance to the monster that many feared lurked nearby. The shockwave of his arrest rattled the foundations of Massapequa Park, where whispers of disbelief filled the air and neighbors reeled at the thought that danger could dwell in their midst, disguised as normalcy. As the narrative unfolds, the grim history of Gilgo Beach reveals itself. The disappearance of Shannon Gilbert in 2010 served as the dark linchpin for a spree of uncovering buried horrors. Her case set in motion the grim discovery of other victims, including Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, all wrapped in burlap and left to rot in the underbelly of an idyllic coastal landscape. Years passed with little progress. The killer remained elusive, leaving traces like cell tower signals and chilling calls, casting a long shadow over the investigation. The revitalization of the task force in 2022 breathed new life into an old case, harnessing familial DNA, burner phone records, and surveillance innovations finally placed investigators one step closer to solving the riddle that had long haunted the region. In stark contrast to his daytime persona involved in high-rise designs, Heuermann's after-hours activities painted a menacing portrait he had kept concealed. Disturbing online searches and a collection of burner phones unveiled a web of darkness that entwined his dual existence, hinting at a predator hidden in plain sight. Through this examination of his life, a startling story begins to emerge, one where the ordinary veils the extraordinary. The hunt for answers transcends Heuermann's arrest, inviting the public to confront the haunting reality that unmasking the grotesque can often emerge from the fabric of everyday living. As the narrative weaves through the chilling blend of domesticity and depravity, it becomes clear that Massapequa Park will never be the same. The ghosts of its recent past will linger long in the memory of those who once called it home. In December 2010, the air in Suffolk County grew heavy with anxiety as the search for Shannon Gilbert took an ominous turn. As authorities scoured Ocean Parkway for the missing 24-year-old sex worker, their efforts uncovered something far more chilling: the body of Melissa Barthelemy, wrapped in burlap and discarded like refuse. This shocking discovery was only the beginning, revealing a dark tapestry of violence hidden in plain sight. Within days, 3 more bodies surfaced, each a harrowing reminder of the lives lost in the shadows. Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, and Maureen Brainerd Barnes, all sex workers who advertised on Craigslist, had vanished under eerily similar circumstances. The press quickly dubbed the quartet the Gilgo Four as the grim realization settled in. A suspected serial killer was lurking in the area. The shared threads of their stories wove a sinister narrative that investigators could not dismiss. A predator had made their home amid the quiet whispers of Oak Beach, As the investigation unfurled, it revealed a landscape of horror far greater than anyone anticipated. Over months, the remains of 11 victims were discovered, each one adding to the growing terror. Among them were a toddler, a man clad in women's garments, and an Asian male, underscoring the brutal nature of the killings. With each find, the mystery deepened. Was this the handiwork of a single ruthless murderer? Or did multiple killers roam free, driven by motives that eluded understanding? With each passing year, the case began to grow cold, much like the winter air that enveloped the desolate beaches. Families of the victims rallied, refusing to let their loved ones fade into obscurity. Candlelight vigils flickered against the night, and billboards demanding justice galvanized the community. Meanwhile, criticism mounted against law enforcement for perceived failures, especially after the firing of Police Chief James Burke. His dark legacy only cast a greater shadow over the investigation's progress. In 2016, the FBI joined the fray, breathing fresh life into a case that had grown stagnant. Cutting-edge technology allowed detectives to sift through old evidence with newfound clarity. The investigation began to spotlight troubling patterns, especially calls from the murderer to victims' families, revealing a heartless narcissism underlying the killings. Each chilling detail traced back to Midtown Manhattan, piecing together a chilling digital footprint that hinted at the identity of a predator. The investigation, shadowed by both loss and hope, slowly inched toward an unsettling truth that still lingered in the air. The Gilgo Beach case, once shrouded in silence, began to stir once again by 2022. Despite earlier media flurries and grim disclosures, the path to justice remained frustratingly elusive. Yet, behind the scenes, a beacon of hope emerged through the collaboration of state, county, and federal agencies in the formation of a new task force. This unification breathed life back into the cold case files, armed with technology and the tenacious will to uncover the truth. Central to the renewed investigation was a green Chevrolet Avalanche, crucial yet overlooked in previous inquiries. This vehicle, spotted near the last known location of victim Amber Costello, was re-examined through advanced surveillance techniques. Connecting the car to Rex Heuermann became a pivotal moment, revealing a thread that wove back into the troubled narrative of the Gilgo 4. Investigators plunged into a comprehensive review of phone records, tracing signals back to locations and interactions surrounding the victims' disappearances. Tension escalated with every revelation. The cross-verification process dug deeper, uncovering burner phones that linked the chilling crimes to Heuermann's routine life in Manhattan. Each digital breadcrumb pointed to obsessions reflected in his search histories, disturbing queries about torture, body decomposition, and updates on his own case. The web of deception was unveiled, revealing an orchestrated play where Heuermann masqueraded under anonymity while perpetrating heinous acts. However, the truth often hides in the smaller, overlooked details. Heuermann's discarded pizza box held a vital clue. Within its remnants lay DNA that corresponded to evidence collected years prior. Although a familial match rather than a direct linkage, this clue was the lifeblood that fueled further investigation. As the task force meticulously chronicled Heuermann's patterns, his regularity in trash disposal, online searches, and alarming interests, the layers of his life began to unravel, depicting a man obsessed with death while the world knew him as a benign neighbor. On July 13, 2023, the facade shattered as Rex Heuermann faced arrest outside his office. The magnitude of the moment rippled across news headlines, painting him as more than an architect or a family man. The image of an alleged monster took center stage. Investigators scoured his home, uncovering a repository of weapons and evidence of a disturbed psyche. Disbelief mingled with horror among neighbors as the image of the unsuspecting man they once knew morphed into chilling realities of a serial predator lurking within their community. Rex Heuermann presented himself as the epitome of middle-class success, the proud founder of RH Consultants Associates, a prominent architectural firm located in the bustling heart of Midtown Manhattan. His reputation was built on impressive projects involving high-profile clients, transformed commercial spaces, and intricate zoning challenges. Articulate and composed, Heuermann commanded attention with his authoritative voice, crafting an image that resonated with respect and professionalism, a picture that many admired and aspired to emulate. Yet beneath this polished facade lay a horrifying truth that remained shrouded in secrecy. Following his unexpected arrest, curiosity gripped the public, leading investigators and journalists to unravel layers of his life that revealed a far more sinister reality. Former colleagues began to recount their experiences of Heuermann, describing him as meticulous and intense, often displaying socially awkward behaviors or erupting into angry tirades. Despite these unsettling traits, no one could have imagined the depths of danger lurking just beneath the surface, hidden by a mask of normalcy. As probes into his life deepened, a darker narrative surfaced from his digital footprint. Heuermann frequently visited online forums dedicated to serial killers, immersing himself in the macabre details of crime scene reports and psychological profiles. His internet searches were chilling, documenting a morbid fascination with dismemberment, torture, and missing persons. This compulsive exploration bled into his interactions. Through fake email accounts, he solicited sex workers, often echoing the very traits and experiences of the victims. It became evident that these communications transcended mere desire, spiraling into rehearsals for a looming, horrific reality. In the confines of his Massapequa home, police made shocking discoveries. A vault stocked with over 200 firearms, disturbing artistic expressions, and electronic devices laden with dark secrets. Maps and burner phones painted a picture of a calculated predator, fiercely deliberate and unnervingly premeditated, with family often away when the murders occurred. The chilling timeline suggested a meticulously planned dual existence, a disturbing persona increasingly divorced from the life he maintained. As the revelations unfurled, the idyllic streets of Massapequa transformed from a serene community into the haunting ground for one of America's most unsettling murder cases. Residents who once exchanged friendly greetings with Heuermann faced a haunting question. How could darkness thrive in plain sight, unobserved for so long? On July 14, 2023, Rex Heuermann stepped into the courtroom, an embodiment of tension, wrapped in a tan shirt and heavy shackles. As the charges echoed throughout the room, 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of second-degree murder, and 1 count of felony concealment, the air thickened with a blend of anticipation and dread. The courtroom brimmed with reporters, grieving families, and community members, all searching for answers and justice after years of uncertainty surrounding the Gilgo Beach serial killings. As the prosecution began, they unveiled a staggering array of evidence against Heuermann, reconstructing a chilling narrative of his alleged crimes. Cell phone tower records connected him to the locations near the murders, while burner phone data revealed dark interactions. Surveillance footage captured a figure resembling him in the vicinity, and eyewitness testimonies began to form a net around him. What struck the courtroom with the greatest impact, however, was the striking DNA evidence rooted in an unexpected location. A discarded pizza crust matched to hair found on the burlap sacks that cloaked the lifeless victims. In stark contrast, Heuermann's defense stood resolute, arguing against the supposed mountain of evidence. The attorney's voice resonated, emphasizing that the prosecution hinged only on circumstantial factors. They made a critical point. A murder weapon remained elusive, and no eyewitness could definitively place Heuermann at the crime scenes. This tug-of-war between evidence and doubt captivated the audience, a courtroom theater watched by avid followers of true crime, eager for every twist. The emotional landscape of the trial was painted in vivid strokes of grief as families listened attentively, reliving the horrors neatly packaged into forensic details. Mournful cries pierced through the testimonies, echoing the agony of personal loss, while tight fists told stories of unshakable anger and sorrow. His actions were portrayed not as impulsive whims, but as calculated maneuvers, with the prosecution painting Heuermann as a predator choosing victims like pieces on a chessboard. As the trial progressed, it was evident that each revelation bled into the next, weaving a tapestry of horror that disturbed not just the jurors, but everyone present. Comments around the courtroom shifted. Curiosity morphed into a sense of grim certainty. The outlines of Heuermann's personality and psychology were dissected, revealing a troubling dichotomy of his public persona versus a potentially darker private self. No verdict loomed yet on the horizon, but the gears of justice had undoubtedly begun to turn. The arrest of Rex Heuermann sent shockwaves through communities previously consumed by anguish and unanswered questions. For some families, it offered a long-awaited sense of closure, a moment when years of pain began to find a semblance of resolution. Yet for many, it marked the beginning of a deeper reckoning with systemic failures and societal neglect. As the trial unfolded and details emerged, more questions rose to the surface. Why did it take so long for the Gilgo Beach killer to be caught? Critics pointed to a labyrinth of jurisdictional conflicts and a troubling indifference toward marginalized victims, many of whom were sex workers. Their voices had been stifled for far too long. Families of these women had long insisted that their loved ones deserved justice, but their cries often went unheard. It became painfully clear that the systemic failures in the investigation were rooted in a stark bias. The missing women were not seen as worthy of a thorough search, as though their lives were somehow less valuable. The Suffolk County Police Department found itself under an unforgiving spotlight, facing harsh criticisms for its disjointed and lackluster initial investigation. The renewed scrutiny led to national conversations about improving how missing persons cases are approached, especially for those at the margins. Advocacy groups clamored for legislative measures, better tracking systems, and specialized training for police officers handling sensitive cases. As this awareness spread, the families of the victims bravely continued their fight. They shared their stories in courtrooms, burned candles on the beaches where their loved ones once walked, and implored the public to remember the vibrant lives snuffed out too soon. They spoke of daughters with dreams, of laughter that once filled homes, and hopes that died too young. Amidst the public's growing interest, the Gilgo Beach case also stirred revitalized attention toward other cold cases. Investigators from neighboring counties dusted off forgotten files in search of connections, while true crime enthusiasts and media outlets began to draw parallels among unsolved mysteries from decades past. Rex Heuermann became emblematic of not only one man's cruelty, but also society's failure to protect the vulnerable. This case reshaped conversations in the legal world as well, showcasing the vital role of digital evidence and genealogical DNA, setting important precedents for the future of investigative methods. Ultimately, Heuermann's arrest ignited a flicker of hope for families grappling with their own lost loved ones, reassuring them that justice could still find its way, even in cold cases long thought abandoned. A collective push for change emerged, a reminder that no matter how deep the silence of unsolved cases, justice can still awaken from its slumber.